We're looking today at former Senator Darren Bailey. He's asked us to call him Darren. We'll call him what he would like. And so, Darren, we're so delighted to have you today. And I could read a bio, but I figured that it'd be best if you just told us what you would want our members to know about you.
I appreciate that, Fran. And I think by now most people know who I am and what I stand for and what I stood for when I served in Springfield. Um, I'm a farmer. I have a small trucking business and an excavating business, 4 children, 13 grandchildren, and Cindy and I are passionate about Illinois. Just all there is to it. This is our home, and 6 months ago, we had no intention of sitting here today and running for governor, but just due to happenstance of people that begin to understand the field of Illinois and see that there is an opportunity that exists this year for a conservative-minded candidate to win this race, and through a lot of prayer and through a lot of conversations, we felt like this might be the time, and especially from what we learned from the grassroots movement. And part of that process is indeed being in. We've toured many manufacturing facilities, and one thing that is common is people are having a hard time, finding help. Like I said, this is all the same with my farm. I employ 15 men and women, support 15 families, as well as my children who work on the farm. And I guess we manufacture too, because we manufacture food essentially. But just the high cost of doing business in Illinois, the heavy burden of regulations, and none of it makes sense. It burdened my heart yesterday as I sat in Springfield and listened to JB's State of the State address, that everything's fine, everything's great. The budget's going to grow just a little bit, but we just need to hang in there because it's going to get better. Well, we know it's not. And meanwhile, all around the border of Illinois, 15 miles in, people drive over to other states and get their gas and save money. And when they do, they buy products and they eat out and they do their shopping, and that's hurting Illinois business. And we have now the state of Iowa doing the exact same thing that the state of Indiana did, getting ready to pass a bill that says, hey, we'll take in some counties of Illinois. Let's do a state split here. And we know what that is. It's genius on their part, because they have a surplus in their budget that we don't have. And what that is, it's a business grab. There's going to come a point in time when, say, John Deere there's going to be a point in time that if we don't do something here in Illinois, that John Deere is going to be able to afford to move their manufacturing out of Illinois and over into Iowa or somewhere else. And it's the same scenario down in southeast Illinois, where Indiana's trying to grab their corporate tax in Illinois is twice of what it is in Indiana and Iowa, and all they're doing is just throwing a fishing lure out, trying to get people to look over the river in both of those places and understand that, wow, it could be a lot cheaper to do business in these other states, but its current infrastructure is the only thing that's keeping them here. So I think time is limited for us to get our house in order here in Illinois. I firmly believe that 4 more years of J.B. Pritzker, all it's going to do, the first two, is going to be an audition for president, and he just seeks a complete socialistic society here in Illinois, and I for one won't stand for that, and I don't think any of the people on this call want to do that either.
Well, that's true. And as manufacturers, we know that there are three sources of wealth, right? For any nation. One is farming, one is mining, and the other one is manufacturing. Those are the three, and that's how we create wealth. So we're really interested in encouraging manufacturing and farming at the same time, where we can have that. Can you share for us your vision? You just about did, but just an overall vision for Illinois if you were to become governor.
So, and I love, when I was looking at your questionnaire, something honestly I hadn't thought of. I love that idea of, creating a position in the executive branch for manufacturing, because there was a time, and when Illinois was, the economic engine of the Midwest, and I believe we can become that again. We have everything here that we need. We've got the Great Lakes, we've got the rivers, we've got the rail, we've got the roads, and we've got what we need. And people businesses want to be here because of our location. Unfortunately, our taxes, our regulations. They're driving them out, and now we have a shortage of people. Many of the places that we've looked at and have toured over the last several couple months, the businesses, they're concerned. We toured a place up in Rock Island here about a month ago, and I mean they were 2 miles from the Iowa border, and even people from Iowa that would choose to drive over here, it's just, with taxes and everything else, they would be better suited to be in Iowa. I mean, that's the story of Illinois. So literally get just less government. We've got to get government out of our lives, and many of you know that, how do we do that? Well, we do that by communicating to the people. Guys, that's why I'm here. I was served as state rep, and when my state representative started approving or supporting tax increases, and I got irritated and I started complaining on Facebook. And the next thing I know, nobody knew, nobody understood what was going on over the July 4th weekend and 2 a.m. in the morning in 2017. But they figured it out fast. And when they did, they got irritated. They encouraged me to run. So I show up in Springfield thinking I'm going to serve 10 years and go back home and tell my kids and grandkids one day I fought for them. And I showed up in 2019, and I saw the dysfunction of government, and it aggravated me. So I went and started educating the people. So then I was elevated to the position of Senate, twice that territory, twice the people. And that's why I ran for governor in 2022, because I want this bully pulpit. I want this platform to be able to talk to all of Illinois and tell them it can be better, and point out some of the representatives who are voting for these egregious bills that are just hindering and oppressing our state. So I think that I'm equipped with my voice to share reality, truth, and to empower people to step up. And one thing that'll and all of this is driven by elected officials. It's driven by an oppressive governor. It's driven by people in Chicago that don't understand how the rest of the state functions. It's driven by social and moral issues. So if we stand up and we begin to kind of work together, to come together to make Illinois this economic power engine again, I think that's the beginning of how that's the solution to all of our problems in Illinois: generating more business, bringing more people into the state, paying more taxes, lessening our burdens. That's your organization holds the keys to the problems of Illinois, and just I won't be shy about what I say, what I do, where I go. I mean, this is our second 7-day bus tour. We're going to be doing another one in March. I'm at the farm every morning at 6 a.m. and even on the farm, I know that I can't do things the same next year that I did them last year, because everything changes, and so it is with the manufacturing industry. So I will be a voice to the people, and I truly believe that is, and you having a seat at the table will be very important as well. But I truly believe that my voice, what I've done, why I am here, able to. We're going to see what happens March 17th, but I think we're going to capture the nominee in a huge way, and that's because people feel empowered and educated. So.
Well, you're currently on a bus tour right now. You're taking time this morning to talk to us. And downstate, I know that there is a big issue. And not only is energy a big issue downstate, it's a big issue with our members, because they tell us that energy is only their biggest cost, second to payroll. And so we're looking at a big, huge change in energy here in Illinois. And the more, not only the cost of it, but the reliability of it, as we move into more and more dependency on solar and the wind energy and all that kind of thing. And driving along I-55 coming north recently, I realized I never saw so many red lights blinking along the line, which is indication of how many solar panel installations there are. But we are moving away from our natural gas, moving away from coal, and moving away from nuclear, even in some cases. How would you handle the energy issue here for our state?
So, Clean Energy Jobs Act must be repealed. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. So when I served, my state Senate district covers covers almost all of the oil that's produced in Illinois. And, where nobody wants to talk about the fact that over 10,000 gallons of oil are used in the lifespan of a wind turbine. And wait till you get up in the air and fly over that same area. There's half as many wind turbines getting ready to go up. I flew over that last week, and I took some pictures, and I was looking down and I saw all this stuff, and they're erecting, more of these. I am for, I don't want to get in, I am for an all of the above approach. When I was in the House and in the Senate, and we were discussing this Clean Energy Jobs Act, that's what I said. I said, hey, go ahead and move forward with this, but this cannot replace reliable energy. Illinois is setting on an immense part of natural gas. We've got it. We've got our natural gas generator facilities, set up. There's one right down the road from where I live. We've got thousands of years of coal. And let's just talk about this. If you're worried about it, a lot of people see the steam coming out of these stacks. They think it's pollution. They think it's education that needs to take place here. I think it's hilarious that they exempted the Springfield, Illinois plant, so it could keep Springfield going. And there's days you go up there. Someone was riding on our bus just last week when we drove through there, and the plume of steam coming out there. And they're like, oh my goodness, how is that still happening with all that smoke coming out of that? I said, it's not smoke. That's a scrubber. It's getting cleaned. It's clean energy. So, unfortunately, we do have a problem because the coal industry, as far as the coal-fired plants here in Illinois, when CEJA went into effect on many of our plants, they will be shutting down in the next 2 years on 2 or 3 of them, especially the Newton Power facility. So because they didn't make the investment, so we have some situations that we're going to have to stare at. It's interesting because we mine our coal here in Illinois, and yes, it has a higher sulfur content. The state has a heavy carbon tax on it, but they put it on rail cars and they ship it out to Wyoming and they burn it in Wyoming. Meanwhile, Wyoming has a lower sulfur content. They put their coal on rail cars and rail it to Illinois, and we're able to burn. I mean, it makes no sense. Something that I'm going to be touring in Florida, they are building a manufacturing plant for these these mini nuclear reactors. I mean, you're literally, from what I've been understanding, I've got people talking with me about this. It's a little 3-foot box, and they're using them in Australia and England, and there are an order for like 45 gigawatts of energy of these boxes. One of these boxes produces the same as 1,000 acres of solar panel, and it's reliable. It's got a 99-year shelf life on it. So, energy is key. These data centers, the problem, we can't have data centers because they're going to suck up too much energy, and it's going to cost, our residents more. So, the kicker with Illinois government, this could have all been addressed back in August when down here in my area, when the Ameren prices in the MISO region spiked. I mean, they literally doubled. The General Assembly could have come together and began to offer some relief on that. They could have come together right now and begin offering relief on property taxes. But we see with J.B. Pritzker's agenda, he has no wherewithal to do any of that because we know what his agenda is. So, no, power is key. J.B. Pritzker yesterday in his address said we are a net exporter of energy. Well, we are, but we're not using adequately what we had in 2019. We had all kinds of energy for the state of Illinois, and then we were exporting. Today, the reason we're exporting is because we have limited amounts, and then we go out and have to renegotiate and buy more like we did in August, and that's why our utility prices spiked.
Well, speaking of taxes, what is your position on the progressive tax? We may see it come up again, and we know we dealt with that in 2020. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe the progressive tax could, in and of itself, immediately be one of the most devastating acts for Illinois, because anyone with common sense and business sense know exactly what it's going to do. It's going to push the job creators out of Illinois. It's already pushed many of them. Boeing's packing up and leaving. McDonald's with their corporate offices are leaving. So no, I'm adamantly that goes against everything a free capitalistic society believes in.
What are your thoughts about the movement? While a lot of companies are leaving, we're getting companies in from foreign governments, and one of them in Manteno is associated with the communist regime. How would you want your administration to handle requests like that in the future? What are your thoughts?
Well, I am friends with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I love what Arkansas has done, where they've literally stripped immediately any foreign ownership of land, not just farmland. So, if we're going to be an America First government, if we're going to be an Illinois First government, these regarding solar panels, whatever it is, why aren't we making them, manufacturing them right here in the U.S., right here in, if J.B. Pritzker is so bent on, so that therein tells us there's more to all of this than we suspect it. We just don't know what the details are. Why on earth would we allow a Chinese company to come in here and make batteries for us? um, you know, if we're going that route, let's figure out a way to make them ourselves. No, I have, we've got to understand what the intent, what the involvement, and then we find out with this whole Goshen deal that yes, they are in an actual government-owned entity. Something's very wrong with that. So, Illinois first, always. And if there's something that we can't figure out, something we can't acquire, something we can't make, and then there's got to be some, and we have to let the local residents have a say. If the people of a community definitely don't want something, then it should be game over, period.
Well, there's a lot of confusion on a lot of these issues and not sure where we're headed on them. I'm talking about foreign countries, and we were also, right in the middle of a hot discussion on immigration. And currently, Illinois is a sanctuary state that has state laws defying local enforcement's cooperation with federal government on the federal immigration personnel. How would you deal with that as far as with your administration?
So one thing that's, I think, important for people to understand is that, I've been there. I've worked with Aaron Delmar and I. We've come from the ground up. We've served. I've served in the school board. When I saw the problem, I didn't go run for governor. I ran for state rep. Then I was in the Senate. Then I began to realize, gosh, this is bigger. So I think the approach, the fact that I've been and I've argued against many of these bills is, I think it's important because I know how a government works and I know how that we can turn around and change it. That the governor's office in Illinois has really almost the most authority than any governor's office in the nation. There's a lot of working parts with executive orders, with having control of the purse strings. So I wanted to mention that. But then to your point, no, I believe that when I'm in Chicago, this Trust Act, the Safety Act, the Sanctuary City situation, it's all got to be repealed, period. And we can work with the money to kind of help push back until we can actually get law to change it, to push back some of this sanctuary city nonsense. But my belief, when the Chicago media loves to put the microphone in my face and blame President Trump and all this that's going on with ICE, and I just tell them, I said, you know what, I agree with you. We should have no federal agents in Illinois. We don't, because we have our own state and local law enforcement, and we are a land of laws and law enforcement. Wow, guess what they do? They uphold the law, and we should be doing all that ourselves. This whole immigration stuff is out of hand. We need to get it under control. We can have absolutely no problem with legal immigration if there's some things that we need to do to make it easier. But every day on the campaign trail, I was in two restaurants, one yesterday morning and one the day before, that immigrants came here, got their citizenship, and have been here for 10 years and the other for 40 years, perfectly happy. What they're not happy about is what they're seeing with these people flooding into our nation undocumented. And I will address that.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to do this and giving us your thoughts. So we want to become more acquainted with each one of these candidates in order to know what they think and how they would handle things if they were in that position of the governor's mansion here in Illinois. Thank you so much, Darren, for taking time to do that with us today. I'm going to hand it back over to Rich, and he's got a question or two, and we will, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And don't forget to send me that link where that you have those additional questions, because I'm sorry I missed that.
Okay.
Thanks, Fran. All right, it's time for questions and answers. So for TMA members, for those of you on your computers or if you're using the mobile app, you can type your question, submit it through the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. In the meantime, I'll ask Darren the first question that was pre-submitted by a TMA member. Darren, I'm not sure if you're aware, there's an issue that's coming up with the 2027 school year, bill that was passed back in the early 2000s that is going to require every high school student to take 2 years of foreign language in order to graduate. And it has many of our CTE teachers and schools concerned because there's only so many electives in a day that high school students can take. And so even for students who really have no intention to go to college, to require them to take 2 years of foreign language while they could be taking 2 years of machining or welding or something like that, they're very concerned. So we wanted to find out how you feel about this new pending state law that starts in the 27-28 school year, and if you would support legislation to allow CTE classes to count as an alternative towards those foreign language requirements. Darren?
No, thank you. I strongly oppose that. I got my driver's license in 1982, and I found a graph just last week that from 1982 to 2021, there have been over 700 mandates placed on public education. 348 of those have been unfunded mandates, and it's those unfunded mandates that have driven our property taxes up, and that's exactly what this is. It's an unfunded mandate because I know for a fact most schools are struggling, my gosh, finding a Spanish teacher, let alone having to have a secondary language. Now, we need to be focusing on putting our kids to work. If we want to, that's one of the reasons why Cindy and I started Full Armor Christian Academy in Louisville, because of our school quit having chorus, it quit having band, and we know that those are classes, those are fields that help students' minds, that help them grow, and the vocational classes they're just out the door because many rural schools simply can't afford it. Where are our electricians? Where are our plumbers? Where are our mechanics? If we lean into school this way, we're going to continue to lose out. I have a cousin in Oklahoma, and he is the director. He's a director of. So within their schools, after your sophomore year, am I going to be college bound or do I want to be work bound? And if you're going to be work bound, then you begin to take vocational courses that help you to do that. But no more regulations on public schools, period. I want to dial it back, let school boards and communities decide how they want to educate their children. I've served 17 years on a school board as well, so very familiar with that.
Thanks, Darren. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, please type it in the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. We have another question coming in. This has to do with taxes. And it has to do actually with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the Trump tax cuts that were passed last year. Unfortunately, the governor and the Democratic leaders decided to decouple Illinois from those tax cuts, and there were some significant tax relief measures for manufacturers to the tune of about $243 million that we lost out on because the state decided to decouple from the federal tax cuts. If elected, Darren, would you support legislation to reverse course and readopt those federal tax code changes for Illinois, which would allow manufacturers to access the state tax benefits of the tax relief? Darren?
I think there's one phrase here that I love is that it's true. J.B. Pritzker hates President Trump more than he loves Illinois, and it is causing problems in our education and our manufacturing. Absolutely. I mean, that is absolute nonsense that we would not offer this. And there are there's billions of dollars available of federal funding that we're not getting, that J.B. Pritzker is blaming the Trump administration on, that he simply has to fill out paperwork and cooperate. So I will tell you that no matter who the president is, I will always be working for the betterment of Illinois.
Great. Thanks, Darren. All right, I think we have one more question. This has to do with property taxes. It says TMA members pay one of the highest property taxes in the nation on their manufacturing facilities. Politicians in Springfield have talked for years about the need to reduce property taxes, but nothing has been done at the state level. We know it's a local issue, but do you have any thoughts on the best way to reduce property tax burden on Illinois manufacturers?
So, Yeah. So about a month ago, we submitted a website. It's called Blueprint for Illinois, blueprintforillinois.com. So, a lot of people are always asking, well, what's your plan? We devised this, but down on the very bottom, we put we also came out with a Doge program. Our Doge is going to look a lot different than it does federally. It's specifically to root out and find waste, fraud, and abuse within our budget. And when's the last time anyone had any idea what's in that 5,000 page document called the budget? Many of those paragraphs in that go back decades. We absolutely must dissect that budget, find out where every dollar is coming from. Remember, the gaming years ago was going to take care of schools, going no more property tax increases. A few years ago, the legal marijuana bill was going to take care of all of our mental health issues. Yet since then, J.B. Pritzker has continued to push hundreds of millions of dollars in the name of both of these. So I truly believe that this $56 billion budget that we're going to be staring in the face next year, guys, there's ample money in there to begin to create relief for Illinois. $2.5 billion we know for sure last year went to feed, house, and insure people who are here illegally in this state. That's almost 5% of the budget. So I believe when we begin to look and tamp down and find this stuff, a lot of people are wanting instant tax relief of, 4.95% of their taxes. But I think we take that money that we're going to find, and I believe we're going to find a lot of it that's being wasted and used wrong. And then we began to go to talk to schools and begin to kind of work with them and offer them the help that they need and to cut this needless bureaucracy that hinders them and make the cost of education actually cheaper in Illinois. It shouldn't cost $30,000 to educate, and we're failing even at that. So, and when we do that, we begin to we're going to develop agreements that say, hey, no more raising your property taxes, no more of these levies, whether it's counties, townships, schools, whatever it is. That has to be our answer, because one of the candidates proposed more taxes on farmland, because there's a vast amount of farmland, not enough representation. No more taxes, period. Stop it. And we must come up with a different mechanism. There's no reason in the world why people's American dream should be to own a business, to own a house, own farmland, and yet have to continue to rent it from the government the rest of their life. That it's destroying our society. So yes, that is a day one agenda that we intend to go to work on. You probably, if you paid any attention and saw within 24 hours after us rolling out this blueprint for Illinois, someone found where over the last 2 years over $180 million in the name of remodeling grants went to J.B. Pritzker's own holding, to his own Hyatt Hotel in Chicago. I mean, that is absolute nonsense. Where's this money going? Nobody knows. We have to find out. And I think when we find out, I know there's going to be billions of dollars that we're going to be able to work with. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to begin to work with tampering down property taxes.
Great. Thanks, Darren. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Darren, do you have any closing thoughts for TMA members?
I'm always available. I don't even carry business cards with me anymore. 618-237-4440. That's my cell. Darren at baileyforillinois.com. That's my email. If you've got businesses, industry that you want us to reach out, send me a text, send me an email. We'll get you on the calendar. I'd love to see it. Guys, again, I've got the experience from the ground up. I'm steadfast in my movement and my beliefs. You don't have to, look at Rauner. We elected somebody that thought was, hey, we got a Republican, we got a conservative, we got a business-minded person. He showed up day one, made the terrible mistake of going to war against Madigan and the unions, and he was stuck. 4 years, just wasted. And conservative, business-minded movement got a bad name out of that. So I think it's imperative that we elect the person that's proved themselves over the last several years. And guys, if we turn out the vote this fall, you go out there to all your businesses, your manufacturing plants, your facilities, the people. If we turn out the vote, we can win, and we can turn Illinois around. So that is my only desire. Thank you for what you do, and I look forward to meeting many more of you along the trail. God bless you, and thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Well, that'll do it for today's virtual briefing. Again, I want to thank Darren Bailey and Fran Eaton for joining us today, along with all of our TMA members on the webinar. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day. Goodbye.